Have you ever looked at social media or looked online and seen somebody get an opportunity for something or seen someone recognized and you thought, man, I could have done that way better? Or I can't believe that that person's getting recognized. Their work isn't even that great. Or maybe you haven't thought it, but you've heard someone say that. Now, I feel like we've all been in a scenario where either we've thought it if we're being really honest with ourselves, or we know someone who's talked about like their stuff's not even that good, or I could have done better. And this week's episode of The Anxious Creative is all about when good isn't good enough. And it's a gooder, so stay tuned. I overthink, I overshare, and I overanalyze. So come explore with me as I chat about business, life, and relationships, all through the lens of an anxious creative. All right, so when good isn't good enough, and I know this may ruffle some feathers with some people. I might not be the most popular person in people's books with this, but truly, it's not all about your skill and talent. And you may very well disagree with this, but I really want to go on a little tangent with this. I remember chatting with a hairstylist friend, and they were really shitting on someone over their achievements and success because they're not even that good of a hairstylist. And maybe you've been in a scenario where you've been if I'm being honest, I've thought that, and no doubt I don't have a recollection of a memory, but I wouldn't be surprised if I had that conversation, right? It's human nature. And there it comes in. You guys hear me talk a lot about comparison and jealousy and envy, and usually we don't want to actually admit to ourselves that we're feeling those feelings. They're not fun feelings to admit that we're feeling, because then if we admit to ourselves then we're jealous or we're comparing or we're envious, then we admit to ourselves that we're feeling less than, and we don't like that feeling. But if you actually start to acknowledge it, you can move through it. And so when I remember this person shitting on someone, and I remember starting to think like, but you know what? They put themselves out there. And I hear it a lot in people it's people that are paralyzed with the anxiety of perfectionism. Now, I want you to know perfectionism is not this, like when people are like, what's your greatest weakness? Well, it's that I'm a perfectionist. It's actually my strength and my weakness. That's maybe too patronizing, but that's my voice. Like people say like it's a strength and a weakness, but really being a perfectionist is carrying anxiety that there's a certain level or perceived expectation of how things have to be. It's also a form of procrastination and avoidance of success and avoidance of putting yourself out there. And usually people who struggle with perfectionism, and I say this because I have been there before, it's because they're really critical of other things that aren't perfect. And to be able to become anywhere in life, you have to be a beginner first. You have to learn how to fail. Actually, you have to learn how to completely suck at something. And you have to be willing to maybe be a little embarrassed or fall flat on your face. But those people that whether it's yourself or you've noticed you've done that, where you're like, wow, I could have done better, and they're getting that attention or they're getting that achievement. It's not about skill and talent. It's about pushing forward. So I know a lot of you guys that listen into this podcast have really big goals and dreams that you want to achieve. And maybe fear is standing in the way, and it's masquerading itself like perfectionism. Like you see this other person's website or their social media feed or their salon or the way they present themselves. And you're like, well, when I can do that, then I'll show up. Sound familiar? And when everything looks perfect, then I can show up the way I want to. But until then, I'll stay here. And this is the thing that I'm kind of going off on a tangent on, is it's so much more than your skill and talent. And truly, I think it's actually Olivia from OMG Hair Artistry, where she talks about, like, it's more about how loud, maybe that's not the words she uses, but like you need to be loud. It's the loudest person gets heard. That's what it is. The loudest person gets heard. I don't know if those are exactly how she said it, but the loudest person gets heard. There are so many skilled and talented people out there, you included. And know that your skill and talent doesn't equate opportunity or success. And I'm talking about success and like people viewing success in like monetary ways or achievements or awards. And know that and especially like, say when there's lots of these awards out there, And it's like viewer's choice. And the person who wins is the person who got the most people to vote. And it's understandable. But if you're not a competitive person in nature, or if you're not a person that really wants to put your voice out there or be loud, know that it's going to come with those, I don't want to say repercussions or consequences, but know that your skill and talent are important. I don't want you to get me wrong on that. Your skill and talent are so important. And that's how you win people over. But do you ever feel like if just more people knew how good I was? I wish there was a way, like I could be a household name for whatever, for this, or I could do hair better than that person on that morning show did, or I could do this or that. If only people knew how good I really was. And that's where I want to encourage you to get a little louder. Now, I know even just saying that might make you a little anxious right now. Like, oh my goodness, she's telling me to step out of my comfort zone and be seen. Maybe the biggest thing is you're just scared of being seen or hearing your voice heard. I know people who are scared to put their face on social media because it just feels uncomfortable. Me too. Selfies are really uncomfortable for me. I'd post them, and then I actually had a couple people poke fun at them like a few years ago. And I don't think they were trying to be malicious. And then all of a sudden this intense insecurity came over me about posting a selfie. So I want you to know, I want you to think, how many times have you thought that same thing? If I win over every client that comes into my chair, I'm speaking to the hair, I know there's a few of you that aren't hairstylists, but I hope you can bring this into whatever it is for you. But I can win over people and say, get here. I just struggle to put myself out there. Or I struggle to what do I even say, or how do I communicate it without sounding cocky? I don't want to come across cocky, even though I know I'm incredibly talented and I know I'm really good at this thing. I wish I had the confidence that person had and maybe you've thought this, and maybe you're willing to admit it, and maybe you aren't, because I know that my work is on par or better than theirs. My work, or I know that I'm just as good as that person, but you're unwilling, or you're nervous, or you're scared to take that step forward and be seen, or have your voice heard, or put yourself out there out of fear of, what if it's not perfect? Or, I remember when the big hair disaster of 2016 happened to me, when someone's hair melted off 10 minutes after putting the lightener on, I remember being like, I can't post on social media. I'm a complete fraud. And who's ever going to want to come to a class of mine that I teach when clearly someone's hair fried off? And then I started getting really paranoid of what if someone's hair fries off at a class? What if I do someone's hair and completely fuck it up in a class that people have paid to come to? And I started having this anxiety before, and I really took a step back from teaching even, because I'm like, what if? And now what I do is I welcome it. I hope that something goes wrong, that I can show people what happens when things don't go as planned. What happens, because we can't predict everything, because life is not about the perfect. Life isn't perfect. Work isn't perfect. And your skill and talent can carry you so far, but you need to start showing up in ways that make you a little uncomfortable. And the thing I'm getting to behind all this is communication is key. And a lot of people I talk to when I teach are like, I don't want to come across as cocky trying to fill my chair. Or maybe you're an independent educator and you want to fill your classes. And you're like, I don't want to just all of a sudden come out and be so cocky about everything. And I get it. But there is a huge difference between cockiness and confidence. And I use this example. There's one thing if I was to come up to you and be like, oh my goodness, I am such a good hairstylist. And you should come see me because I am so kick-ass. You are going to freaking love your hair after seeing me. You're going to be in love with me. You're never going to want anyone else to touch your hair ever again. Flattering, but maybe a little off-putting. And then there's the difference of there's that. And then there's, oh my goodness, I love your hair. And you know what? I'm a hairstylist and I really love what I'm doing. And I love what I do. And I love connecting with other people. And I have so many awesome ideas for your hair right now that I know will look so good on your face shape and your style. And I would love to invite you to come in because I would have so much fun playing with your hair. And I have a feeling you would totally fall in love with it. Can you see the difference there between the cockiness and the confident? And how you can, or even if you're trying to fill your classes, I'm really excited to teach you guys this thing and share with you the ways I've been able to achieve more lift with balayage, or I've been able to cut back my time, or this, that, and the other thing. I'm really excited to share this, as opposed to you need to come to my class because it's thebomb.com and you're not going to want to take a class from anyone else ever again. Now, I'm obviously exaggerating, but you guys get the idea of the difference between it all. And so communication is key in getting your name out there and realizing that it's more. And so I kind of started off this whole podcast talking about like getting recognized and getting seen and getting opportunities, but it's also coming down to just drawing more business in with just consumers and clients. And that's why when I started realizing I needed to communicate more and on a more thorough and understanding basis, I made my custom consultations. Now, a lot of you guys may already have, or you know about my program called Rock Your Consultation. The way it was born out of is that a client of mine had a chemical reaction happen to her hair. And I remember feeling like I was a complete fraud. 16 years into my career at the time, I forgot about every successful appointment and every happy client. And I just thought, oh my gosh, how could this have happened on my watch? Clearly I am a failure and I don't know what I'm doing and I've lost all my skill and talent. Like truly that's where my brain went. And so then I started playing small, and I remember thinking, no, Dawn, logically, you know what you're doing. You've got the skill, you've got the talent, you know this stuff. But you know what my big mistake was? I didn't warn my client ahead of time that there was risks involved in this. I didn't warn my client ahead of time that I don't know if a heat reaction could happen. And I realized my biggest mistake was not that I didn't know how to do hair. We still don't know, like we didn't send the hair away to a lab. There was no way to know what caused it. It could have been medication. It could have been diet. It could have been hormones. It could have been copper pipes. Like there's so many variables. But what it taught me is I needed to be more communicative and more thorough with my consultations, because it's not just about, a consultation's not just about learning what to say and hear from them so you can give them good hair. It's about prepping the entire relationship that's about to unfold with this person. It's about going over your policies. It's about going over expectations so that they're not coming back with the hair they wanted saying they don't like it anymore. And you've already talked to them at that point about the protocol. You've already talked to them about your redo policy or your fix policy. You've already talked to them about, I want to remind you that, yeah, our goal was this, but you knew that we could probably only achieve this in the first appointment. That's why I don't make guarantees. Or you're like, yes, we went over the risks and waivers. And my Rocker Consultation, if you're interested in it, you can go to dawnbradley.com/RYC and check it out. It is, well, I'm biased, obviously, but it is an amazing program to help you communicate better. And it's actually very proactive. So the example that I use in this is kind of Western medicine versus natural medicine. Now, I have the standpoint that I really think they both have their place. I know some people are like team Western medicine, some people are team natural medicine. I really think they can work beautifully together, and I adhere to both. But what I've noticed is Western medicine is very reactive, where you go when you feel sick and they fix your ailment, where natural medicine is very proactive. They want to, I'm working with a naturopath right now, and she's like, let's heal your gut so this doesn't turn into other ailments, because there's like lots of proof that's shown like a healthy gut actually eliminates a lot of potential other problems that can come up that you then need like antibiotics for. So Rock Your Consultation is a very proactive program. And what it does is it helps guide you through this really stress-free approach to conversations and communication consultations with your client, to alleviate that stress of those really uncomfortable conversations later. It's actually going to help you. It's going to eliminate a lot of these uncomfortable conversations later on. So anyway, I'm not trying to give a whole spiel on Rock Your Consultation, but if you don't know about it, go check it out. I think you're really going to love it. But communication is so important. I would say skill and talent are important, but it doesn't matter how skilled and talented you are. If you don't communicate and listen and hear your client well enough, you can give them bomb-ass hair that they don't want or they don't like, right? And so I know that it's not always the funnest thing to hear, because people are like, I'm a good stylist. I can't believe that my client doesn't like it. And I'm I gave them what they wanted, but did you really listen to them? And did you really hear what they wanted? Yeah, but were you on the same page? Did you ask enough questions? Did you look at enough pictures? And I'm not saying there are those clients from time to time that, it doesn't matter how much you communicate, but really you can eliminate. I actually eliminated all of the wrong clients for me by putting my custom consultations into place. So what I'm saying is, yeah, when good isn't good enough. Your skill and talent are really important, but just as important, I want you to start thinking about your communication. And can you show up more? Can you ask more questions? Can you listen more actively? This is a hard one for those of us that are in professions where we talk. It's hard for us to listen. And the number one compliment I ever got from a client was, wow, no stylist has ever sat down across from me and listened and heard to what I really wanted. Thank you. And this was someone who was paying me $50 for a consultation. I was not doing their hair. So I just want you to wrap this up. I want you to start thinking about, you've got the skill and talent. We know that. That's covered. And it's good to always take new skills and learn new techniques and keep on top of things. I really think that's important. I'm not saying not to grow those or not to learn. But if there are places where you're unsatisfied where you're at, if I don't have a full enough schedule, or you're not getting some of the opportunities that you want, how can you create a little bit more loudness with confidence, not cockiness, so that you can be seen and heard more by the right people and the people that you want to be seen by? All right, so I bounced around a lot in this episode because I got really excited, and you guys know I go on tangents. But basically what I'm saying is, yes, being good is good enough, but I'm saying when good isn't good enough is that your skill and talent are really important things and you need them. But what's my hair doing? If you guys are watching this on YouTube or on my website, it's doing something funky today. But I want you to remember that just as important as skill and talent is for you is your communication skills, is your ability to listen and to draw out, to ask the right questions, the important question, as well as be thorough about what is expected, and so that there aren't miscommunications in the future, that there aren't mishaps, that there aren't things that have you walking away being so frustrated. The more I've learned to be a better communicator, the more success I've had in business and relationships and just generally in life. I've been able to ask for what I want. I've been able to be like, I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself for the third time, instead of being like, oh yeah, I get it. Learning to be able to just communicate and say what you need to say, as well as not be scared to say it, has been a huge win, and I can't wait to hear your wins for this. So as always, if you're watching this on YouTube, and you enjoy it, please subscribe and leave a comment. Or if you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, your review would mean the world to me. So subscribe, review. I want to hear what you think. And until next week, have an awesome week. You kick ass, and let me know how your communication skills are at. Send me a DM at Dawn Bradley Hair on Instagram. See you later.